Daniel Carter had never been the kind of employee who decorated his desk with expensive awards or photographs from luxury vacations. His small workspace on the 23rd floor of Hayes Global contained almost nothing personal except one framed photograph. It showed his 10-year-old daughter Lily smiling beside an older man. Daniel looked at the photograph every morning before starting work. For him, it was a reminder of why he worked so hard. Daniel was a single father in Chicago, and every promotion, every late night, and every difficult assignment had one purpose: giving Lily a secure future. One Monday morning, the company was preparing for an important executive meeting. CEO Victoria Hayes walked through the operations department with several senior managers. She stopped beside Daniel's desk. Her eyes landed on the photograph. "What's that?" Daniel looked up. "My daughter Victoria picked up the frame without asking. She looks happy, she is." Victoria placed it back down. "You actually keep family pictures at work?" Daniel smiled politely. "It's just one picture." Victoria laughed. "Don't you think it looks unprofessional?" Several employees nearby became uncomfortable. Daniel didn't respond. Victoria continued. "This is a corporate office, Daniel. Not your living room." Daniel quietly returned the photograph to its original position. "I understand." Victoria walked away. The meeting began a few minutes later. Daniel presented his department's latest performance report. His numbers were strong, but Victoria remained critical. "This projection is too conservative," Daniel explained the reasoning. "We're protecting the company from unnecessary risk." Victoria shook her head. "You always think too small." Daniel remained calm, maybe. "But the numbers support the strategy." The room became tense. Victoria looked toward him. "Perhaps you should focus more on your work and less on decorating your desk." Daniel glanced at the photograph. He could have argued instead. He simply said, "Yes, ma'am." After the meeting, one of his co-workers approached him. "Don't take it personally," Daniel smiled. "I don't. You should tell her who that man is in the picture." Daniel shook his head. "No, why?" "Because it doesn't matter." The co-worker looked confused. Daniel carefully lifted the photograph. The older man standing beside Lily was Richard Hayes, the founder of Hayes Global. He had been Victoria's father years earlier. Before his death, Richard had taken a personal interest in Daniel's work. He had discovered Daniel struggling to support his young daughter and quietly became his mentor. Richard had once told Daniel, "Your daughter deserves every opportunity you can give her." Daniel had never forgotten those words. Before Richard died, he created a private trust connected to Lily's future. But Daniel never mentioned it at work. He didn't want anyone to think his career depended on Richard Hayes. He wanted every achievement to belong to his own effort. That afternoon, Victoria returned to the operations floor. She noticed the photograph again. She picked it up. "You really like this picture?" Daniel looked at her. "Yes." Victoria smiled sarcastically. "It's still just a family photo." Daniel gently took it from her. Then he looked directly into her eyes. "You really don't know who that is." Victoria frowned. "Your daughter?" Daniel shook his head. "Look beside her." Victoria glanced at the photograph. Her expression changed. She recognized the man immediately. It was her father, the founder, the person whose portrait hung in the company's main lobby. Victoria slowly looked back at Daniel. For the first time, she realized that there was an entire story behind that tiny photograph. She had mocked, and she had no idea how deeply it was connected to her own family. Victoria stared at the photograph for several seconds. "That's my father," Daniel nodded. "Yes." The office suddenly became silent. Victoria looked at him. "How do you know him?" Daniel carefully placed the photograph back on his desk. "Your father was my mentor." Victoria frowned. "My father never mentioned you." "He didn't talk about everyone he helped." Daniel explained that years earlier, Richard Hayes had noticed Daniel working late while raising Lily alone. Instead of offering him money, Richard offered advice. "He told me that leadership wasn't about having the biggest office. It was about making sure the people depending on you had a chance to succeed." Victoria listened quietly. Daniel continued. "Your father met Lily several times." Victoria looked at the photograph again. "I remember that picture." Daniel smiled. "Then you remember." Victoria shook her head. "I thought that was one of his foundation events." "It was, but why was Lily with him?" Daniel hesitated because he asked her to join him. Victoria's expression softened. She had never known her father had taken such an interest in Daniel's family. Then Daniel revealed something even more surprising. "Before he died, your father created a private trust for Lily." Victoria stared at him. "What?" He wanted to make sure she had opportunities when she grew up. Victoria couldn't believe it. And you accepted only because he insisted. Daniel looked down, but I've never used his name to get ahead. Victoria suddenly understood. Daniel could have told everyone about his connection to Richard. He could have demanded promotions. He could have used the family trust as leverage. Instead, he had remained one of the hardest working employees in the company. I owe you an apology, Victoria said. Daniel looked at her for the photograph. For everything, Victoria turned toward the employees, who had witnessed the earlier exchange. I mocked Daniel for keeping that picture on his desk. She paused. I was wrong. Nobody spoke, Victoria continued. I judged something I didn't understand. Daniel smiled slightly. You don't have to make a speech. I think I do, she looked back at him. Your work already speaks for itself. But I also want you to know that my father's respect for you wasn't accidental. Daniel nodded. He believed in me. Victoria smiled. So do I. She offered Daniel a senior leadership position. Daniel didn't immediately accept. Why? Because you've earned it. Daniel thought about the offer. If I take it, I want to be evaluated by the same standards as everyone else. Victoria smiled. Deal later that evening. Daniel returned home and showed Lily the photograph. Grandpa Richard would be proud of you. He told her. Lily smiled. Do you think so? I know. So meanwhile... Victoria stood in her father's old office, looking at a photograph she had never noticed before. It showed Richard smiling beside Daniel and Lily. Behind the photograph was a handwritten note. Daniel understands what this company should always stand for. Victoria finally understood why her father had trusted him. The tiny photograph on Daniel's desk had never been unprofessional. It had been a reminder of a promise, and Victoria had almost missed the meaning because she was too quick to judge what she saw.